Hello campers, this is the Suburban Camper and this is a video on, wait a second, where did I put my notes on this video? It's around here somewhere. Oh yeah, it's about organization, specifically how to organize your camping gear. So what's wrong with just throwing everything in? I mean, the Suburban has a ton of space, right? So let's just chuck it in and go. Well, that is one approach, but I prefer the organized approach, primarily so I don't forget anything and arrive here 30 miles from the nearest highway and 2.5 hours from the nearest city and discover I only have fishing gear for salmon and steelhead, but there are no salmon and steelhead in this river. Yeah, that happened. Before I dive into organization, I want to share a new feature for the Suburban Camping channel. In previous videos, I've said I typically do not share many specifics on my campsites, and the reason is I find the process of identifying and navigating to campsites a very enjoyable experience, and I want others to have the same experience. But I recently had the idea of sort of changing this approach and spreading some campsite love. Going forward, all my videos will feature one super quick slide with information about one of my campsites. Oh, there it was. Did you see it? Okay, I'll slow it down. The slide will look like this, and it will feature the coordinates for the campsite, a picture, and a 3-word description. Please note, these are just some example coordinates, and feel free to check them out, but it's definitely not a place to camp. Anyway, stay tuned, and you will find the correct info on a great camping spot. Okay, so besides being less likely to forget something, here are some additional benefits to having a system for organizing your camping gear. Saves time, frees up space, easier loading and unloading, not that kind of loading, but you know what I mean, enables different configurations, makes you better prepared, all of which reduces stress. That's what camping's all about, right? Ah, yes. Oh, sorry. My mind was back on the river. Okay, I'm back. Let's dive into my system of organization and hopefully you can pick up a few tips. Let's start with what I think is the most important step, and that is creating a checklist. Okay, I know my 6-page checklist, yeah, that's right, I said 6, is overkill, but I really do carry everything on this list. Before I talk about how my checklist is organized, I need to first cover off on gear storage. I utilize bins to store most of my gear, and I use the same style and same size for all of it. And that bin is the 17-gallon black and yellow bin. For years, I camped with various bins, crates, boxes, bags, etc., which made every camping experience a unique challenge. The 17-gallon bin is an inexpensive solution to your organizational challenges. Once I consolidated to just one type and size of bin for storing gear, it made packing, loading, camp setup, tear down, and unloading much easier. So why not use bigger bins to hold more stuff? Well, the fact is you can haul more stuff with the 17-gallon bins because they can be stacked 3 high in the Suburban. Trust me, I did the math, and if there were nothing but 17-gallon bins in the back of the Suburban, they'll provide significantly more storage than larger bins. And they are much easier to handle and store. The 17-gallon bins stack securely, the lids fit tight, and they are very weather resistant. Just keep in mind the lids will collect water if left outside in the rain. And I also recently discovered if you travel on dusty roads with them stored on the outside of the vehicle, they are not dust resistant. What a mess. Okay, we have a checklist and we have bins, so how do we make them work together? Well, first we organize the gear into categories. Then create a bin for each category. Next, we label it accordingly on all 4 sides. And finally, we utilize our checklist to identify exactly what goes into each bin. Here are the bins I utilize. The kitchen bin holds a pot, pan, plates, silverware, and much more. This bin plus the cooler and food bin is what you utilize to make a meal, so you always want them to be the most accessible bins. This is the food bin. It holds cooking oil and spices along with canned, dry, and fresh food. It is plenty of storage for a couple weeks of food. This is the beverage bin. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it looks like I need to restock the beer. This is the camping gear bin. There's a lot of stuff in here. It's all the miscellaneous things I utilize or may need while camping. I utilize pieces of cardboard as dividers, which helps fit more gear and keep it somewhat organized. This is one of the two canopy bins. This one holds the canopy pole connectors, the canopy walls, lantern lights, and gear to keep the canopy tied down. The sleep bin contains sleeping bags and blankets, some of which I use for curtains. This is just an empty bin I keep nested under another bin until I need it. I put a full trash bag in here to haul it from my campsite, so it contains anything that may leak out. This is optional, but if you use a portable toilet, I highly recommend it. I also use it when I get lazy on the last day of camping to transport dirty dishes to throw in the dishwasher when I get home. This is the second canopy bin. It has the canopy roof tarp with its straps, 4 sandbags, and some extra tarps. And finally, this is the battery bin. It is a stacked double bin containing a deep cycle battery and power accessories. I doubled it up because the battery is very heavy. The bins have holes drilled in all the sides to provide ventilation for the battery. Wait, did you see that? I think that was the campsite info I promised you earlier. I hope you enjoy it. Now looking back at the checklist, you can see not only are the contents of each bin listed, but also the loading location for each bin is identified, whether it's loaded on the inside of the vehicle or in the hitch cargo carrier. The checklist also identifies all the individual items I utilize, which I refer to as solo items, and it identifies where they are loaded, either in the vehicle, the cargo carrier, or the cargo box. Again, this takes the thinking out of the loading process and makes it go much quicker, which gets you on the road much faster. And my checklist also features more checklists and a meal planner and a grocery list. Okay, I had to cut myself off there. Just download the checklist at suburbancamping.com and check out all 6 pages. Yes, I said 6, and use it as you see fit. Here are a few tips on how I use the checklist to prepare for a trip. I lay out all the bins on the garage floor and then check the contents of each bin and write down what needs to be restocked, added, or purchased. Then I grab an empty bin and take it around the garage and house and grab what is needed. This saves a bunch of back and forth trips. Regarding food, I do a meal plan first and then stock accordingly, again using an empty bin to collect the items I need. I also carry the checklist with me on the trip and will note things that need to be restocked or purchased, and I will also make notes for the things that need to be added, deleted, or moved to a different place on the list. I will just say one more thing about the checklist, I promise, and that is the bins are listed in somewhat the order I load the Suburban, and the only reason I mention this is once you have a solid system for organizing your gear, then you can establish loading configurations based on different scenarios, such as solo camping versus double camping, and the time you will spend at a campsite. You can find more information about the loading configurations I utilize at suburbancamping.com. And as you can see from that page on my website, I also find it helpful to organize a campsite by establishing camp configurations. There are 2 primary factors, and the first one is the kitchen setup, whether I'm using the hitch cargo kitchen setup, a portable table, or a picnic table. The second factor is the canopy, whether I'm using it or not, and if I am, what kind of weather situation I'm setting it up for. You can learn more about my camp configurations by watching these camp setup option videos. And finally, I find it helpful to have a consistent configuration for storing my gear on the shelves in my garage. This enables me to store all my gear in one place and makes unloading go much smoother. And for those of you who stuck around for the entire video, thank you. Here is a bonus campsite. Remember the campsite I showed in the beginning of the video with the wrong coordinates? Well, here it is with the correct coordinates. Enjoy. If you learned something from this video, please subscribe, and if you want to learn even more about how to camp just about anywhere and be prepared for anything, please visit my website, suburbancamping.com. Thank you very much.